Picture a flock of sheep crossing a pasture. They all walk at the same pace. They graze where the others graze. They stop where the others stop. They feel fear when the others feel fear. And if you asked a sheep why it's heading in that direction, it would look at you without understanding the question. Where else? Everyone's going. And every sheep is absolutely certain it's doing the only reasonable thing, the only natural thing, the only thing that makes sense. Now stop and ask a dangerous question. What if I told you that flock is you? Friedrich Nietzsche believed this is the condition of the overwhelming majority of human beings. Not that we are stupid, not that we are cowards by nature, but that we spend our entire lives repeating opinions we heard, wanting what we were told to want, fearing what we were taught to fear, and following, deep down, exactly where the crowd is going. And the worst part, we swear with the greatest sincerity in the world that all of it is ours, that we are free, that we think for ourselves. Nietzsche called this the herd morality, and he said it is the most sophisticated and most invisible form of slavery there is, because there are no chains on the feet, there is no jailer, there is no prison. There is just the crowd, walking together, and the terrible fear, older than memory, of being the one who separates from the group. And today, in this video, I'm going to make you an uncomfortable proposal. To look at your own herd from the outside. To examine, one by one, the ideas you think are yours, the values you swear you chose, the tastes, the fears, the opinions, and ask with brutal honesty, is this really mine? Or did I just inherit it, just copy it, just absorb it without noticing? I'm warning you, what comes next is not going to be comfortable, because the first reaction to hearing you're a slave of the herd is to feel offended and say, I'm not like that. But it's precisely the person who says it with the most force who is usually the most deeply in. If you have the courage to truly ask yourself this question, stay. Nietzsche has 7 truths about herd morality. They won't free you on their own, but they will show you where the chains are. And that is the first and indispensable condition of any real freedom. First truth. The herd is not just other people. You are in it. This is the first wall we need to bring down, and maybe the hardest. Because when we hear about herd, mass, alienated people, our mind immediately performs a very convenient operation. We think about other people. Those who repeat clichés, those who follow trends, those who watch the shows I don't watch, those who vote differently than I do, those who believe what I find ridiculous. The herd is always other people. But it's precisely that operation that proves how deep you are in it. Because the herd does not look like a herd from the inside. From the inside, the herd looks like the right way to be, the normal way, the obvious way. Each sheep inside the group thinks it is thinking, choosing, being unique, exactly as all the others are thinking the same thing at the same time. Brutal question. How many of your strong opinions did you decide alone, after thinking deeply, against the opinion of your group? And how many did you simply absorb from the environment you grew up in, from the people you admire, from the networks you frequent? If you're honest, the answer will scare you. Most of what you defend as sacred is exactly what the people around you defend, and you swear you got there on your own. The first truth is uncomfortable. As long as you imagine that the herd is other people, you are a perfect sheep. The starting point of freedom is the most humiliating act, admitting that you too are in there, exactly like everyone else. To you watching, if this first truth already bothered you, if you felt that urge to say, "But I'm not like that," write one single word in the comments: herd. Whoever writes it is starting to do what almost no one does. Look at themselves with honesty, instead of looking out at everyone else with judgment. Second truth. You think, but most of the time, you just repeat what you heard. Here is one of the sharpest observations Nietzsche makes about us. He said, in essence, that most people confuse repeating with thinking, that they confuse remembering what they heard with having reasoned on their own, and that the sensation of thinking is often nothing more than an inner reverberation, an internal echo of what entered the head from outside. Look at your own mind. When you defend an opinion with passion, where exactly did those arguments come from? Did you build them alone, from scratch, starting from facts and your own reflection? Or did they reach you ready-made in a video, a post, a conversation, a book by someone you trust? And when you prepare to talk about them, are you thinking, or are you executing, pulling from memory what's stored there and packaging it as if it were new? I'm not saying that's always bad. Learning from others is necessary, and no human being builds everything from scratch. But there is an abyssal difference between, first, hearing an idea, examining it, confronting it with others, testing it against reality, and after all of that, deciding to accept it. And second, simply swallowing the idea because it came from someone you admire, or because everyone around you accepts it. The first is thinking. The second is repeating. The second truth is demanding. Before defending an idea, ask yourself honestly, have I actually thought about this, or am I just repeating? Did I arrive here, or was I brought? That single question, asked seriously, is capable of silencing half the certainties you go around saying. And the silence that follows isn't emptiness. It's the first room you've ever had inside your own head to actually think. Third truth. The fear of being different is the invisible collar. Why is it so hard to step out of the herd? Nietzsche saw with relentless clarity that there exists a deep, ancient mechanism, perhaps engraved in our instinct, that ties us to the pack. That mechanism has a simple name: fear. The fear of being excluded, ridiculed, attacked, isolated, abandoned. The fear of being that strange one who stands out. And this fear is not rational, it is visceral. It comes from a past in which being expelled from the tribe meant, literally, dying. A human being alone, without the group, did not survive in nature. That's why, for hundreds of thousands of years, we were selected to fear separation more than almost anything else. That fear is inside us, like a permanent warning. Be careful. Don't stand out too much, or you'll die. Today, no one dies for having a different opinion, but the instinct is still there, intact. That's why a small disagreement, a single unpopular opinion, a single gesture that stands out, creates in us such great, such disproportionate discomfort. The brain reacts as if expulsion were imminent, as if life were at stake. And to escape that discomfort, we give up our own voice. We agree when we disagree. We stay quiet when we wanted to speak. We repeat what the group repeats, even when, deep down, we know it's not quite like that. The third truth reveals the collar. You are not held by external chains. You are held by an internal fear, so ancient it seems natural. To recognize that fear is the first step to no longer blindly obeying it. You won't eliminate it, it's part of what we are. But you can stop being dominated by it. The fear will still whisper in your ear every time you're about to step out of line. You just don't have to do everything the whisper tells you to do anymore. Fourth truth. Social media is the new pen. If Nietzsche already saw herd morality as a suffocating force in the 19th century, imagine what he would say today, facing what has become the largest herding machine in human history, social media. Platforms designed at the deepest level to show you what others are doing, saying, liking, and wanting, and to reward you with small doses of visible approval every time you align with the crowd. Think about how this works. Each like is a small nudge saying, "Repeat this." Each negative comment, a small punishment saying, "Never again." In just a few months of exposure to that system, any normal human being learns, without noticing, what they can and cannot say, think, show, want. They learn to mold their own face, their own words, their own tastes to collective approval. And they begin to lose contact with what they really are, because what they really are has been gradually erased, small dose of approval by small dose, until it becomes a version optimized for likes. And the most dangerous part, all of this looks like freedom. You think you choose what to post, what to watch, what to be interested in. But in reality, the algorithm chooses for you, showing you what is most popular, most accepted, most predictable. You're surrounded by a giant mirror that only shows you the average of what everyone already is. And yourself, slowly, conforms to that average reflection, thinking that is being authentic. Thoreau warned, more than a century before any of this existed, that the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. He worried they marched to other people's drums without ever hearing their own. The pen is now in your pocket. The fourth truth is harsh. Social media is not the free public square it appears to be. For most of its users, it is the most efficient pen ever built. The fact that the door is open means nothing if your instinct keeps you locked in there. Fifth truth. Who decides what is normal and why that controls you? The word normal seems neutral, but it is one of the most powerful and most dangerous in the human vocabulary. Because when something is classified as normal, it stops being examined. It becomes background. It becomes obvious. And at the same time, what stands out from normal automatically gets seen as strange, wrong, suspicious, maybe dangerous. Nietzsche's question, who decided what is normal? Who defined that this way of dressing, of living, of working, of loving, of growing old is the right way, and the others are deviations? The answer is that no one decided, and everyone decided. The normal is what the majority does, or makes it look like they do, repeated so many times that it stopped being seen as one choice among many and started being seen as the only path. And here's the invisible control. You don't need laws to force you to do what everyone does. It's enough that it be the normal. You will police yourself. You will punish yourself with shame every time you step out of line. You will pressure yourself to fit in. Who really controls you most of the time is not a boss, a government, or an institution. It is your own obsessive worry about not standing out from normal. You watch yourself, judge yourself, and punish yourself alone, more efficiently than any external jailer could. The fifth truth is revealing. Normal is not an objective reality. It is a silent consensus that no one voted on. And the power it exerts over you is exactly proportional to the number of times you adjust to it without noticing you're adjusting. Sixth truth. True freedom begins in the discomfort of standing out. Here we arrive at the practical point. How do you get out of this? Not by reading one more book, not by intellectual understanding alone. The way out begins, always, with an uncomfortable and small gesture. The gesture of standing out. Of saying something you think, but that you know will draw strange looks. Of refusing something everyone accepts. Of staying silent when everyone laughs at what you don't find funny. Of making a life choice, a career choice, a taste choice that isn't the one your tribe expected. Nietzsche understood that this initial discomfort is, paradoxically, the sign that freedom has begun. Because as long as you are comfortable, aligned, feeling that soft peace of doing what everyone expects, it is very likely you are still in the herd. The discomfort of standing out is the collar trying to pull you back. And each time you resist that pull and hold the gesture, the collar loosens a little. Small daily rebellions build over time a real person. Pay attention, because here is another trap. Standing out for the simple pleasure of standing out, doing the opposite just to draw attention, is just another form of servitude, now flipped. The true free spirit is not obsessed with being different. They simply are, without measuring every gesture against the crowd's ruler, nor against the opposite ruler. Freedom is not doing the opposite of what the herd does. It is ceasing to have the herd as your main reference, and starting to have yourself, honestly examined, as your reference. The sixth truth is uncomfortable and liberating at the same time. As long as standing out terrifies you, you are still imprisoned. When you begin to stand out calmly, without needing to prove anything to anyone, simply because it's what makes sense to you, then yes, the collar has begun to fall. Seventh and final truth. Become a free spirit. The path of the sovereign individual. Nietzsche had a name for the person who managed to cross all of this. He called them the free spirit. And he drew this path as one of the highest tasks a human being can take on. The free spirit is not the adolescent rebel who screams no at everything. They are not the cynic who despises everyone. They are not the bitter loner who feels superior. They are something far more difficult, more rare, and more noble. The free spirit is the one who managed to do the silent work of examining their own mind, identifying what came from outside and what they actually endorse after thinking, and taking full responsibility for the set of values, choices, and desires they decide to call their own. They are not above the herd in a sense of contempt. They simply stopped needing it to know who they are. They can even continue living in the midst of people, conversing, loving, working. But their internal reference has changed. The center of gravity moved from outside back inside. And this path never ends. There is no day when you wake up, slam the gavel, and declare, "Now I am free." The herd is around you and inside you all the time. And the work of not getting confused with it is daily, patient, demanding. But as you walk in that direction, something changes. Your life starts to resemble you, not the average of the people around you. Your choices start to carry the weight of having been made, not just accepted. And that, for Nietzsche, is the only life that deserves the name of a full human life. The seventh truth is the final call. Becoming a sovereign individual is not turning your back on humanity. It is turning toward yourself with adult seriousness and taking authorship of what you are. It is the most difficult task there is, and it is also the only one that makes it possible, in the end, to say that you truly lived, instead of having merely been crossed by a life that belonged to everyone. We have reached the end of our journey. 7 truths from Nietzsche about herd morality. Let's recap. First, the herd is not just other people. You are in it. And it's precisely the one who denies it most who is deepest. Second, you think, but most of the time you just repeat what you heard. Third, the fear of being different is the invisible collar, ancient and instinctive. Fourth, social media is the new pen, efficient and seductive. Fifth, normal is a silent consensus that controls you precisely because it is invisible. Sixth, true freedom begins in the small, daily discomfort of standing out. Seventh, the path of the free spirit is to take from yourself authorship of what you are. And it's important to say, before someone distorts it, becoming a free spirit does not mean breaking off all human relationships, becoming a hermit, or thinking yourself superior to your neighbor. It means the opposite. It means that when you love, it is you who loves. When you help, it is you who helps. When you agree, it is you who agreed after having examined. You stay among people, but now you are really there, and not just as a body reflecting what is around it. Nietzsche did not call us a herd to humiliate us. He called us a herd to give us a chance, perhaps the only chance, to stop being one. He saw humanity that slept standing up, walking together, repeating the same phrases, afraid of the silence that genuine thinking requires. And he offered a demanding and beautiful alternative: to become a real individual, not a sheep painted as unique, but a person who, after everything, can look at their own life and say, honestly, this life is mine. If this video touched something true inside you, good. The discomfort is the first sign that something has begun to move. Write in the comments which opinion that you defend with such certainty had you never stopped to ask where it really came from. Be honest with yourself and with us. I will be reading every single one. If this video made you look at your own mind in a new way, drop your like. That tells the algorithm there are still people willing to ask these questions instead of fleeing from them. Subscribe to this channel. It is not for those who seek easy applause. It is for those who are ready to begin the hard, silent work of becoming someone. Next week, we will return together to the abyss to dissect another hidden mechanism of the human soul. Until then, remember one thing. The sheep that defend the herd most are the ones who need it most to know who they are. Free spirits don't need to attack the pack. They simply walk to a different rhythm, and the crowd doesn't even notice their absence. Go and begin today to learn to walk to your own step.